My Florida license is now issued.
What? Oh, your license is all done? Woohoo! Nice. Congrats, Terry. Terry relocated and has been waiting for the new license to come in. So congratulations. You can get started on working now, which is amazing.
Yes, it is. It's great.
Congrats. All right. Awesome. So we are live in a workplace. For those of you watching live and if you forgot about it but want to join us, just go ahead and jump on my Zoom link. We'll let you in. Don't worry if you're late. Otherwise, go ahead and make any comments there if you'd like to, and I'll monitor that for Kelly off and on as well. While you're here live, if there's any questions that you have and you don't want to forget it, please chat it in the chat box. We'll review it here at the end. Kelly's going to talk for about 25, 30 minutes, whatever it goes. And then we're going to leave room for discussion, mastermind, and questions. And so what I would like to do is make a really brief introduction, but then I'm going to have Kelly expound on it a little bit with her experiences. Today, we're going to be talking about short-term rental investments. Kelly Worley with the Worley Real Estate Network, her and her husband, Jeremy, are partners of mine here at EXP in Branson, Missouri, and they're an amazing team of agents. Many of them are on the call today, or partners across the country because they came over to EXP realizing that they could expand beyond Branson, Missouri with all of their opportunities, their experiences, their knowledge, and their contacts. It just made a whole lot of sense. So we're super excited they're here. It's been over a year now, which has been awesome for them to be with us. And so, Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself when it comes to just the short-term rental investment experience, just a little bit. And if there's anything personal you'd like to add in, and then we'll go ahead and just get into what you have as far as a presentation. You can just kind of do it more casually. If you need to share your screen, you already have access to do that, but you don't have to, okay? So everything's set up for you.
Perfect. Thank you, Cari. So thanks everyone for joining. Our short-term rental investment experience started in 2008. And it was essentially a time when we had 1 3/4 babies and no money, and it was a terrible economy. And my husband had just gotten into real estate, and I was begging him to get out of it because it was making us no money. And we lived in Branson, Missouri, and in Branson, we still do. And in Branson, you really have to make your own opportunities. And Jeremy, being the resourceful, creative person that he is, he read a book about vacation rentals, and he said, I really think we can do this, but we don't have any money. And so he went to his grandfather, who had never invested in anything other than his IRA, and as long as he had been alive, said, yes, I believe in you. I'm going to give you the down payment for this house. And so Jeremy and I, that was our quote unquote, our first investment. And I cleaned it and we managed it together. And then we just started growing our portfolio from there. So it's a now a matured sub-asset class that I think we can all say. And if you aren't familiar with short-term rentals, you don't consider yourself a master at it, this is something that can be a cash cow for you, especially if you have a group of, anywhere from 5 to a dozen investors. They are the most exciting group of people to work with because they're ravenous to buy properties. They sell and buy multiple properties a year. And so in a changing market, we just really believe in helping our agents to build that group of investors to help you in an uncertain market, especially since this is a sub-asset class that is not going away. And so what I want to do is I'm going to mostly talk about analyzing a vacation rental property, as well as maybe touching a little bit on, I recently had to analyze the price for a long-term rental. So I want to talk to you from the perspective of a listing agent on one way to analyze a price for that, besides just doing your comps. In our area, there aren't a whole lot of comps for this type of property. Now, I'm going to talk about two things regarding that. I'm going to talk about ROI, return on investment, and cap rates. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. So if you get confused, then I have overcomplicated it. So I want to, and at any time, please chat, ask for clarification. I may assume that you know something that I need to expound on a little bit more. So please feel free to interrupt with questions, raise your hand, put it in the chat box, however you want to do it. So shall we get started? Yes. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Can you all see that? Okay, great. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is you have two groups of money that you need to understand. You have income. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? It's the money that this property brings in, whether it's a short-term rental or a long-term rental, there's the income. And then you have the expenses. And these are typically the reoccurring expenses. So as you can see over here, the operating expense is going to be your advertising, your HOA dues, insurance, credit card fees, real estate tax. I'll talk about this in a second. Supplies, utilities, and miscellaneous. So this is your total operating expense annually. So if you take your income and you take your operating expense and you subtract your operating expense from your income, what do you have? Two words. Dan Fortin.
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute on my phone. Net income.
Net income. Okay, so we're going to be talking primarily about net income. So again, it's essentially that's it. It's a math sentence and you just have to program in the numbers. So I am going to show you my fancy spreadsheet, but you don't have to have a fancy spreadsheet, okay? So if you understand what your typical reoccurring expenses are, these are the categories. You can analyze any property with your calculator and a pen. Okay, so now if we're speaking specifically about vacation rentals, I marked out sales and local taxes. And the reason for that is that's typically a pass through. So I am remitting my taxes, but I'm charging the guest for it. So it's going to be a wash for me. So I'm not going to enter it in as an expense or as income. I marked through that. Okay, why don't I have cleaning fees in there? Does anyone know? Don't be shy.
Because you can charge that to the guest, right?
You can charge that to the guest. So that's a pass through as well. So what I do actually is I charge extra for my cleaning fee, which helps cover some of the miscellaneous things. That's just a little hint of mine that I like to do because I don't want to die on every hill. In other words, if someone breaks a glass or ruins a set of sheets, I'm not willing to pick up that as a fight. I'd rather just pay for a new set of sheets because I've charged a little bit extra. So that's taken care of. Okay, so very simple. Take your income, subtract your expenses. That gives you net income. Now, these are the formulas that we're going to use. And you're going to understand it as a definition and then in practice. Okay, so calculating your ROI is your net income. So your gross income minus your expenses, so your net income divided by the cash invested. So this is all you need to know to analyze a vacation rental property or short-term rental property. A cap rate is your net income divided by the cost of the property. You're going to understand this a little bit more as we go through the examples. But the thing that cap rate doesn't take into consideration is necessarily the debt service or how much your loan is. So keep that in mind. But a lot of investors, especially whenever they're looking at just a commercial building or a long-term rental, a lot of investors are interested in cap rate. So you need to know how to speak that language. So we'll talk about what a good cap rate is and what a good ROI is. So yeah, I know how to figure it out. Now what? Is it good or is it not good? Let's talk about that. Okay, this is my fancy schmancy calculator. It's very simple actually to use. So let me just give you a quick overview, and then we're going to input some numbers on a listing that someone wants me to take. Okay, so you have 3 columns: your property information. So this is going to be the cost of the property, your income and expenses. So your income here, total is going to be here, and your expenses here, total is going to be here. And then this spits all of it out over here. So I'm not even going to do anything with this. I'm just going to read it. Okay, follow me so far? Thumbs up? Okay, good. Okay, so I've got a 2-bedroom cabin in a really cool place in Branson. It's down a peninsula called Indian Point. It's where Silver Dollar City is. It's where the lake is. We've got a theme park. You got lots of lake access. It's a gorgeous lake view, and it's unique because it's a cabin. These people want $400,000 for an 800 square foot cabin. And in our area, that's pretty spicy. So what I want to see is this going to be something that is going to be lucrative to an investor, or is it going to be something that is just going to be a second home for somebody who just wants a really cool cabin in Branson? So they want a purchase price. Undo what I just did. Okay, they want a purchase price of 400, a sale price of 400,000. Okay, that would be cash invested, 20% would be 80,000. A lot of our loans here are going to be commercial loans just because of the nature of our market. So I'm just going to be on the safe side, I'm just going to put 8% for the rate. So they're financing 320,000 at an 8%. So this is their monthly payment, $26.77. I'm just going to do this just for the sake of depreciation, because that is one way that people do make income. These are the different ways you can separate the depreciation. I'm just going to leave these numbers the way it already had it set for me. And now we're going to go over here and talk about rates. So in our area, we like to figure numbers a little bit more conservatively. On average, most places do about 200 nights a year. In this case, we're going to do about 160, 170-ish. Ultimately, I'm going to get to around the $50,000 mark because they actually are making a pretty good income and they can prove it. So their peak rate, they've got 400. We're going to say 85 nights, and we're going to do off peak 200, and we're going to say 70 nights. So 48,000 is about what they're doing. So far, all I have is cash invested, total income. And now let's just plug and chug. Let's say they advertise themselves, they operate it themselves, which they do. It's $499 a year for Verbo and HomeAway. Their HOA dues are $37.80 a year. Insurance is $12.33. And credit card fees. So we're going to say that they have some reoccurring guests and it doesn't all go through Verbo. So we're going to put credit card fees at $1,000. Their real estate tax last year was $21.77. Sales and local taxes, we're not going to put anything there because it'll be a wash. Their supplies, we're going to put it at $1,000 because they may also take the same trick that I do and pay less for supplies because they either take an insurance fee or they charge extra for cleaning. Their utilities are actually, this may be their saving grace. They're actually $13.23 because they're only paying for electricity. So typically utilities is going to be your water, sewer, cable, Wi-Fi, trash, electric, all of those things, everything else. And then miscellaneous, we're going to put $500 for some handyman fees. So their total operating expense is $11,512. Have I confused anybody yet? Okay, all right, so fairly simple. Just looking at the chat, but I know that Cari will keep me updated on that. Okay, so now it's going to plug and chug all of this information to this far column. Now there are 3 ways that you can make, actually 4 ways that you can make income on a property. 1, cash flow. Obviously, that's your income minus your expenses. The second way is principal reduction. So you've had renters reducing your principal amount in the past year without doing a whole lot, by answering your phone and, you know, using your thumbs a lot. They've reduced the principal reduction by $6,500 that year. You also have a potential tax savings. It depends on how much you take out of your business, obviously, and what tax bracket you're in, but that's a potential loss. Lately, we've been getting a lot of investors who are saying, we actually want to pay top dollar for this property because we need a place to put our money, because we need a tax shelter. So that may be someone's primary objective in buying a property. And then the last one is estimated appreciation. I never fill this in because as agents, we don't have a crystal ball and we're not speculators. That's not our job. Now, what I can do is look at the history and say, well, statistically, over the past several years, the properties have gone up by 8% each year. So that's something you can take into consideration, especially if it's new construction. We're seeing more equity and more appreciation in those properties. For a few different reasons. But I do want you to take that into consideration, Mr. or Mrs. Investor, is that that's one more way. And over time, we all know that real estate values go up anyway. So what this is going to do is go over here and show me exactly what the return on investment is. So go back here, return on investment is net income divided by cash invested. Net income is here. And the reason why it's quite a bit less is because we actually have taken into consideration your debt service. So what you've paid on that property significantly impacts what your cash flow is. Now we're actually taking into consideration cash flow and principal reduction as income, because ultimately it is. So it's that divided by $80,000, 15% return on investment. Does anyone on here have an opinion on whether or not that's a good investment? Is that a good return for your $80,000?
Yes.
Okay, Jason, tell me why you think that's a good return.
15% return on investment is probably better than what you would do if you took that $80,000 and put it in the stock market this year.
Great perspective. Yeah, and show me something that's getting a 15% return. Now, there are a few things that we can do to change that number up. We can go up or we can go down. Someone could invest more money and have a lower payment. We find that we can, you know, anything. I used to say, heck yes, if it's a 40%, we can't say that anymore. Okay. Prices have gone up so significantly that it's still a good investment, but it's not going to be a 40% return. Don't look for that really anywhere. What you're looking for is you're looking for an opportunity and not a deal. And that's the language that we have always taught to our investors, because that's the first thing that, or to our agents, because that's the first thing that a lot of investors say to us is, hey, I'm looking for a deal. And you have to switch up that language. I was just speaking with an agent in the Pigeon Forge area who said, we really use the 10% formula, which isn't either one of these. And he said, if a property is $4 million, you're expecting $400,000 in income out of it. Again, that doesn't take into consideration your debt service or your expenses, but that's the formula that they use. So let's say, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, who are selling this property, it's a decent cash flow the way it is right now, as far as the return on investment. But let's say that we drive that up a bit by changing a couple of things. Let's say they're able to make a little bit more money. So they made another $3,000 by allowing pets. So now we know that properties that allow pets make more income because that's part of people's family. They charge extra on cleaning fee and you charge that pet fee per night. Plus statistically, you're getting more bookings because of that. And yeah, it means that you need to, maybe deep clean it or clean the carpets if you have any, professionally steam it a couple of extra times a year. Absolutely. But it typically more than pays for itself. And then let's change the purchase price over here to 380,000. So maybe, and then that would put, that would make a $76,000 down payment. So maybe we're able to negotiate on price a little bit. Boom, 20% return on investment. And I didn't put appreciation, so it's the same number here. Cap rate's 10%. So I know in our area, a lot of times people are looking for, a 9% cap rate's pretty decent. So what I want to talk about next is talking about, let's go back here and talk about vacation rental, analyzing before I hop into the long term. Any questions, comments about that?
What bedroom, what property was this that you were analyzing?
This is a property on Cave Lane. It's a cabin down at Jacks Creek in Indian Point. So this is a potential listing that I've got going up. And the thing that and they want to sell it for 400,000. The thing that separates this property and this price, it's only a 2-bedroom, is the fact that they're able to get around $50,000 in income each year, which is pretty astounding. Okay, so let's take a similar formula and figure out a cap rate, but we're not going to use a fancy schmancy worksheet for this. We're going to figure out a cap rate for a property.
Luke had a question. Somebody had a question about cash on cash. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm not going to go into cash on cash on this call. I almost did, but for the simple fact, and I know that my calculator explains it, but for the simple fact that we're limited on time and I didn't want to overwhelm people with strategies. So it's a really good question and something that we can touch on maybe even one-on-one. I'm happy to do that. Okay, so thank you, Lisa. Okay, so for long-term, all right, so here's the scenario. I have a 4-plex in Forsyth, Missouri, which is about 15 minutes outside of Branson. And this woman has owned it for the past 15 years. She bought it for $215,000. She thinks she overpaid for it. It is dated, but it just more than anything has some deferred maintenance. So it just needs to be power washed. It needs a little deck on it. But otherwise it's a great property. It rents out well, pretty much 100% of the time, which is astounding. But it's because the rents are so low. I'm convinced of it. So what she does is she rents each unit for $600 a month. So 4 units at $600 is $2,400 a month. $2,400 a month times 12 months is $28,800 minus expenses of about $12,000 a year. she nets 16,800 a year. If we're doing a little bit of reverse engineering and we're figuring out what what an investor would pay for it, because there aren't a whole lot of comps for me in this area. There is in another town, but we're not comparing apples to apples here because Forsyth is a completely different town. So from an investor's perspective, what's someone willing to pay for this property? So let's take this. So we've got a desired cap rate of 9%. So we're just reversing the formula a little bit. So I'm taking the net income, dividing it by 9%. That gives me a purchase price of $186,666. Do you think that my seller was excited to see that number?
No.
Not at all. It's less than what she paid for it 15 years ago. And only if she was wanting to get out from under it. And she said this was the best cash flowing property that she had. So a little bit more insight. She's been paying a local couple $100 a month to maintain it. And they probably have done somewhat of maintenance, but I think she's gotten what she's paid for. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. So how do I counsel that owner and, pull her head from down? She's just like slumped at this point. She feels sick to her stomach. So what do we do? Well, I really don't think that there's a whole lot of extra that she needs to do. I think she needs to sink probably $1,000 into fixing up the outside and updating it a little bit. Her top 2 units are completely and totally remodeled. 3 of the 4 HVAC units have been replaced and all 4 hot water heaters have been replaced. So certainly there's value in there. There's not going to be a whole lot more for her to do. It just kind of doesn't look pretty and shiny. In addition, $600 a month is way too low for what the top 2 units are worth, because they are completely and totally remodeled. They have vaulted ceilings. And so what we want to do is paint the picture for the future investor. And maybe whenever the rental term is up, raise the rent. In our state, in Missouri, there's no maximum amount that you can raise the rent from, when your rent lease is up to your next one. There's no minimum amount that you can raise it. So she could actually raise it to $850. And let's take a look at those numbers from an investor perspective. If she raises the rates to $850, that gives her an annual income of $40,800. Let's use her same expenses of $12,000. That gives her an income of $28,800 compared to $16,800. Pretty significant at just a couple of $100 extra a month. Desired cap rate of 9%, reverse engineer it, divide it by 9%. That brings her value to $320,000. So it's probably going to be a little bit harder for me to pitch that to the people who are coming in, because a lot of investors may be looking at, well, yeah, but that's hypothetical. It's not that I can't do that. And I may, if she decides to go ahead and list it, I'm going to say, look, the rates need to be raised. She lives in California. She was basing everything off of these people she was paying $100 a month to. This also gives her the budget to be able to hire somebody to take a little bit better care of the property as well. So there's 2 strategies here. Go ahead and list it at, $300,000. Have a nice, pretty spreadsheet set out for them that I sent to anyone who's interested in the property, or wait a year until all the leases are up, clean up the outside, fix up the lower 2 units just a little bit better, clean those up, and raise the rent. So I think the strategy for her is to hire someone better to take care of the property, raise the rent, fix it up, and then let's get the most. I mean, that's significant. let's get the most out of that property, 186 versus 300, possibly 320. And because there aren't many properties like that, it makes it even more valuable because it's more unique of a development. It's a fourplex and there just aren't very many of them. Okay, so I hope that this has been fairly clear. I'm going to open this up for any questions. And I do want to let anybody know, especially if you want to figure out how to calculate cap rate, if you want to understand how to do this worksheet, if you want more education on vacation rental, we offer a high production, high value video series for anybody. And it's part of weekly coaching. And it essentially it helps you to be able to speak, investor speak, and take you from low money to mo money by adding to your clientele a group of investors. And that's what we specialize in. If you are interested in that, you can have a half price off deal today just for being a part of Cari's group. And anyone who's watching this, anyone who's future watching it on what are we on Workplace, Beth's going to put in the chat the website that you can go to and take a look at. It is stragentacademy.com. We're loading up the next class. It starts July 10th. We do have limited seats available. Jeremy and I will both be teaching that together. And we'll offer that video series to you as well. So let me stop the share and see where everyone's at in terms of what you're doing. Are you currently working with investors? Are you interested in investing yourselves? Or do you, is that something that you are wanting to build up for you or your clients?
Definitely unmute, ask questions. I'm also posting this short-term rental agent academy.com in the live stream. So if you miss it here, you can go back, or for those of you that are watching, I don't see any questions in the live stream yet, Kelly, but I'll watch that as well. So those of you here, go ahead and comment. Ask a question. Okay, so I know Jason works with a number of investors. He's an agent here with us. Dan also works, and Lisa Freed. Dan also works with a lot of investors and has been building his portfolio personally for a number of years. Dan, how did you get started in investing with short-term rentals, and why did you start?
Well, the way I got started was actually when you met my wife. You guys were classmates in real estate school, and you talked to her about short-term rentals. She and I were long-term rental investors at that point, and our mindset was just to continue gathering long-term rentals. And I remember when she first told me what you had told her as far as revenue potential, I actually told her it sounded like a scam. I was like, no way, get out of here. So then I read Jeremy's book, and I was like, oh, wow, this is a thing. I think we had maybe stayed in a Airbnb one time. So we met Jeremy, figured out we needed to learn everything that you and him were teaching. And yeah, the rest is history. As we learned to serve vacation rental investors, we learned to analyze properties just like you're teaching here. And then also serving investors gave us the bandwidth and the resources to acquire more investment properties of our own. So I would say 2017 was the start for us. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. And so one of the exciting things that I see investors do is use their money wisely. So we teach people locally, if you're making it $12,000 to $14,000 per bedroom per year in gross revenue, it's likely a fairly solid investment as long as the price matches up with that. So that's what we can typically expect. Now, the larger properties we're seeing closer to, you know, 23 up to $25,000 per bedroom per year in gross revenue. So whereas like a 2-bedroom, it's fairly standard to see something bringing in 24 to 28,000. It has to be a super unique property to bring any more than that. And we don't typically deal with the anomalies, right? Because that's not something that can be tracked or fact checked, but it is possible those anomalies are. But those larger properties just have so much more margin for making more income because you can charge so much more per night. You have typically multi-generational families staying in the larger properties. They're booking them well in advance. And so there's a lot more room for margin, but most of us don't start that way. Most of us start by dipping in our toe, by buying a 2-bedroom, and then we wait until there's some equity in that, and we take that equity and we can either refinance it and pull that out and get the next property, or we can roll that into the next property with a 1031 exchange. Jeremy and I have done a number of 1031 exchanges. There's also something called a reverse 1031 exchange. Is anyone interested in hearing about that?
Yep.
Okay. So a 1031 exchange, I always start by telling all of my investors I'm not an expert in this, but I can connect you with an expert intermediary. So an intermediary is someone that handles your 1031 exchange. So instead of selling a property and paying taxes on your investment property, you're deferring those taxes being paid by putting that entire price into the next property. So if I sell a property for 100,000 and I had a loan for 50,000, I have to replace that loan. Okay. So that's an important factor. And then you have a certain timeline to identify the properties and a certain timeline to close on the properties. A reverse 1031 exchange follows the same rules, but instead of selling the property and then identifying the property, you buy the property first. So, and then you sell the relinquished properties. Okay.
So it's like the reverse of a regular 1031 exchange.
It's the
reverse 1031 exchange.
Hence the name of it. Yes. So we did that. We knew for sure we were going to sell. We actually did 3 of them. And we had built a 9-bedroom lodge, and we decided to double down in the same development because it was so successful. And instead of taking, 5 different calls from 5 different renters, we decided to take 2 calls from 2 renters. And so we sold 3 properties to pay for this property. So here's how we did it. So we went under contract with this new construction, and we had until we closed on, finally closed on that, we had that amount of time to be able to sell these properties. They all sold, and while we went under contract with this, and the timelines get a little bit tricky because the timeline starts with your first relinquished property. So I won't go too much into the weeds with that one, but one more, if Jason, if you could kind of speak to us just a little bit in terms of what you've learned the most with working with investors. You don't exclusively work with investors, which is smart. It's smart to have diversification in terms of who our clients are. But Jason works with a number of short-term rental clients as well as residential clients. He focuses a lot on agents. He has amazing marketing. And more than that, he has amazing analyzing skills, and he saves information. Whenever he sees a property go online that has income and expenses, he saves it so that he's got that information to be able to pass on to future clients. So tell us a little bit about your journey with working and with investors and how that's benefited your business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I do enjoy digging into the data, analyzing the data, watching the MLS daily to understand the market and just speak from a position of authority to the investors. And then really being able to go and visit all the new, there's been so much new developments, these nightly rental communities that have been popping up in our area. And so I try to find a niche there to be able to get in early with people to give them the information that they want, because, you know, a few years ago, that's the only way that you were going to really win. And, you know, then just being able to convey that easily over to people. A lot of people who are new investors don't really understand how to crunch the numbers. So I end up doing a lot of that homework myself to show them once or twice using that same VR calculator deal. And then giving them just the nuts and bolts of what you can reasonably expect to earn. Gross income, just trying to give them a bird's eye view of gross income expectation for a 2-bedroom, gross income expectation for a 3-bedroom, and just giving them, you know, the average utilities cost is what you can reasonably expect. And I'm going to be very conservative with them so that if you like these numbers, just know that you're probably going to do a lot better than this. But I want you to be okay with, I want you to be okay with a very conservative number starting out. And then, you know, just trying to be as resourceful, connecting with people in the business, stagers, CPAs, all the different things that go along with running a short-term rental business beyond just acquisition and purchasing a nightly rental, but creating a good trusted service provider list for people after the transaction so that I can maintain good relationships with them when they're, so they come back and purchase, you know, another one, you know, and do what you're talking about, do these 1031s. And it's been good. I caution people they're for starting out. Most importantly is just to really understand your, what is the reason for buying this? Are you expecting to, you know, replace your annual, you know, job income within the first year? It's not gonna happen, you know. Or if it's something that you're going to use personally, I need to understand, you know, what those important factors are for you personally. Or if it's strictly going to be an investment property, really getting understanding from them, you know, because a lot of people go through the first week or two of looking at properties and they're, oh, I don't like this and I don't like that. And it's, you know, out their personal taste, you know, views and all of the things, you know, updates and things, but, you know, it really doesn't have anything to do with what your personal tastes are. If it's strictly really honestly going to be an investment property, then remove all of your personal wants and needs out of it altogether and say, is it going to affect it from renting out? The fact that it has this thing that I don't personally like, is it going to keep it from booking out? If I do the thing that I like, is it going to give it a significant amount of more income? You know, those types of deals. If it's going to be a personal use, then definitely, you know, take some of those things into consideration. But it's very important in the beginning to understand what is the purpose of the purchase.
Thank you. Yeah, those are excellent points. And to your point, this is a get rich slow scheme. And it's because, like Jason said, we're probably not going to replace our income that first year. But what it did for me was it paid for my family's vacation. Like a really nice vacation for a family of 5. And then it paid off my house. And then it bought a lot for me in Alaska. And and then it begins multiplying significantly and powerfully the longer you're in it, the more properties you're able to obtain. And then you get creative and you get to use your imagination with, what do I want to do next? Where do I want to buy next? where does my family want to vacation? We really want to go to the Smokies. So our primary objective there, again, to Jason's point, wouldn't be necessarily cash flow, but our primary objective is, can it subsidize itself and also offer us a place to go to every year? So, so there's a lot of power in it. It's not as complicated as you might think. There's a bit of information you need to know. You need to understand your market zoning regulations, but I hope this has been educational in terms of taking the edge off of the thought of crunching numbers. Some people get really scared when it comes to math and doing math problems, and it really isn't. And this is something that can certainly set you apart from other agents in your area by being able to speak to an investor who wants to understand ROI or cap rate.
We had somebody ask, are we able to get the calculator? Should they just work chat you, Kelly, or what would be the best?
Yeah, just work chat me about that. It's something that in the hands of someone who doesn't fully understand how it operates, it can be something that would not be beneficial to you. Ask me how I know. So that's something that we would want to chat about with you.
Yeah. So if you aren't familiar, if you are familiar and you've done this and you just don't have a great calculator, awesome. Work chat Kelly, and she'll make sure you can get it. If you are still new at this, then you might want to talk about maybe their academy and then getting all of the tools and resources, just because you don't want to put yourself in some sort of liability if you don't know how to use these things. And of course, it's all about being the expert in whatever niche that you are finding yourself in. And if this is one that you would like to become more experienced in and more of an expert in, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to service clients multiple times every single month and year, and for you to learn so that you can become an investor as well. And at eXp Realty, and if you're a guest and not at eXp Realty, one of the reasons that, you know, a lot of us here talk a lot about investing in real estate is because we're very much in the mindset of building wealth, not just chasing every real estate transaction forever. Although we like to sell real estate, building wealth is a great opportunity. And so all of us as realtors should be doing that. So if you're in a market where you can be an investor in short-term rentals, this is a great education for you personally as well. And then you're more confident and more credible when you go work with clients. Awesome. Kelly, this was amazing. Thank you so much for coming in. We're going to have you and Jeremy back as always. This has been recorded, so it'll be out on my YouTube channel, you guys. It's also live streamed in eXp Family Tree. Thanks to many of you that were watching there. I went ahead and copied and pasted everything into the live stream, so you all have it. You can go back there and watch it anytime. It stays there forever. And you can find Kelly and Jeremy Worley very easy by just looking them up on Work Chat. So they both have their own Work Chat. Thank you again, you guys. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you back here next Wednesday. If you're into revenue share growth, of course, don't forget to join Becky and I on Monday as well. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.